subscribe. Tariq Radio. Like and subscribe.
All right, we in the building. We are in the building, ladies and gentlemen. I am Tariq, and you are you. Round of applause to you. We are indeed in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming into the tap in. You know how we gotta get it in. Let me give you guys an opportunity to give me a nice retweet. If you can give me a retweet, that would be absolutely phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen. All right. And while you are retweeting, let me shout out to some of the regulars in here. Real quick, we got Queen D, Shane, Brother Stealth, Brahmain, Ice Cold, Rich. We got H1J. We got Afro POV, Richard, Ty Powell, Highland, Trinity. We got Hip Hop. We got Anubis, Hoodoo, Miss Skyline, Miss Rashonda in the building, the Tethanator, Saturn, and the legendary FBA Furball, and shout out to you, brother. I got the package that you sent to the museum. The cups, oh man, you sent me the macadamia nuts from Hawaii. I'm like, them shits is addictive. That's why they sell so many of them in Hawaii. Well, them joints, they're mad addictive. But respect to you, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff we got to hit on. Oh man, the mass shootings. Man, there's been so many mass shootings by these suspected white supremacist males. It's like every other day at this point. It's been ramping up, it's been heavy. Today, there was a shooting at a Mormon church in Michigan. One of these suspected right wingers, the right wingers are trying to act like he wasn't a Trump supporter. This dude, there's pictures of him wearing Trump shirts. His family are Trump supporters. His family, and they're scrubbing their social media. The family, they got them scrubbing the social media. But yeah, his family they had all types of stuff supporting Charlie Kirk. They did a Google search of the suspect, and the suspect's dead. The police killed him. At his house, he had a Trump sign, and the MAGA crowd tried to lie because the Trump sign was by a stop sign near his house. So basically, they were like, no, it was what he was trying to say was stop Trump. He's not a Trump supporter. He had a stop sign and was, I mean, they're so damn desperate to distance themselves from their own degenerates. That's why they keep trying to blame other people. Well, it was leftists. Ain't nobody no damn leftists. The dude in Utah who hit Charlie Kirk, his family was MAGA. They're trying to portray the shooter. Well, he was the lone leftist in his family. No, he was right wing just like his family. They don't want to take no responsibility for nothing. But right now, why are all these suspected white supremacist males just crashing out, man? Well, first, before I get into the shooting from earlier, let's just overall, what's going on with these folks? And there's a lot going on, man. And one of it, I think there's a crisis of identity loss. Their dominance is being questioned. You know, historically, the white supremacist male, they've occupied the top of the social hierarchy. And the society becomes more diverse and inclusive. Many of these suspected white supremacist males, you know, they're raised with expectations of automatic status. They start feeling disoriented and resentful when life ain't living up to that. So that mass violence, that becomes a warped attempt to try to reclaim power and assert control in a world where their dominance is no longer guaranteed. And they weaponize their entitlement. See, the white supremacist male shooters, they always got this deep sense of entitlement. They're supposed to get something. They're supposed to get the woman. They're supposed to get this. So when they're faced with any kind of rejection, like a job, a social status, romantic, whatever, many of them, they don't really internalize or process failure. They say, well, it's society. Society did this to me. So they lash out. And also, man, they've been radicalized through these online extremist echo chambers. If you go to any of these little enclaves where these white dudes are, 4chan, Telegram, Reddit, basically, man, these are just all of their can y'all name me any one of their communities online that don't sit up with racism and it glorifying violence? Which one of their little platforms don't do this? All their little online communities basically is about racial resentment. Black folks are bad. We hate the Jews. Violence, violence, violence. It's all white supremacist gibberish. None of their spaces talk about anything else other than that. Can y'all please name it? It's always some degenerate shit, all of it. You know, you know, they don't have spaces, even on Twitter space. Like we can talk, we ain't talking about doing no violence to nobody. We just talk about politics, societal stuff. We ain't talking about hurting no damn body. You go to their Twitter spaces, there's a bunch of damn degenerates in there justifying hurting somebody, talking about hurting somebody, talking about disenfranchising people. A lot of them have a perceived loss of social economic purpose. The job markets are changing. A lot of these white supremacist males, they feel like they've lost their traditional roles as providers and protectors and leaders. So instead of adapting, they spiral off into this crash out. They try to seek some type of infamy through violence. They want to be degenerate martyrs. So these mass shootings, that's like their little exit plan. That's like their little final grotesque way to feel important and be remembered. That's white supremacist culture, because you tell them if you go out shooting people, you'll get elevated to a certain degree. That's how they got to get remembered. You see? And they have a culture of immunity and lack of accountability, and that's one of the major things. See, the media and society tells white supremacist males that you can commit horrific acts and you can still be treated with dignity, unlike black suspects. See, black suspects, boy, your whole neighborhood and family and your lineage get thrown under the bus. But white mass shooters, most likely, if you don't off yourself, they'll take you in alive. But you get humanized in the press. They give you some kind of sympathetic psychological profile. So that cultural leniency, that creates a warped sense of permission that actually emboldens these future damn degenerate attackers who believe they'll be immortalized and not vilified. You understand what I'm saying? This is some deep stuff. I want to go deep, and I hope the white people in here listen. I want y'all to listen because we got to talk to you. Now, the scenario that happened today, it was a guy, Thomas Jacob Sanford, something like that. So this guy goes out there in Michigan, goes to a Mormon church, crashes his truck into the church, sets a fire, and starts shooting people. Then he gets into a shootout, and I think the cops killed him. Now, this is interesting because I'm looking at his family, and they didn't took all the family stuff down, and they're propping up Charlie Kirk. And this guy is a right winger. I don't give a damn how much they lie. I have a question. Was this retaliation against the killing of Charlie Kirk by a Mormon? Because remember, the guy in Utah who killed Charlie Kirk was a Mormon, comes from a Mormon family. And they've been sitting up fake propping up Charlie Kirk. And they're so desperate to try to make Charlie Kirk a thing. There was a restaurant, Steak something, who gave props to Charlie Kirk. Well, some restaurant in Indiana Don't ever go there if you're in Indiana. It's steak and bake, some shit. I don't know. There was a game, was there some kind of game, a Penn State game, some kind of game today where the white media, they're trying to make it seem like thousands of people bought freedom shirts to commemorate Charlie Kirk. And there was some people selling some white shirts that said freedom, but it was like large crowds of people wearing these white shirts. What they're not telling you is that that's the theme. People are supposed to come dressed in white. So most of the people are not wearing no damn Charlie Kirk shirts. They just happen to be dressed in white, but the media is not telling you this. There's like a handful of people wearing these freedom shirts, and all the other people got on white as well, and they're making it seem like the whole crowd is there supporting Charlie Kirk, which they're not. They're desperate. They're desperate to make Charlie Kirk a thing, and it's not really working like they wanted to. They're trying to prop him up. They're trying to make their own little degenerate hero. But the thing is, man, let's really unpack this guy attacking the Mormon church. And these are questions. Not saying he did, or I'm just saying it looks kind of funny, just the timing and the proximity of events. This attack on a Mormon church happened not long after um, Charlie Kirk got hit by a Mormon. So that proximity, it invites suspicion, like a reactive motive. And public narratives often interpret these violent events in relation to each other. And it was a very symbolic time I'm targeting. You're targeting a Mormon church. That's, when people do these kind of mass killings, the people they target, it's supposed to send some kind of message. Like when Dylan Roof attacked that church out there in South Carolina, that was very significant because that church was where Denmark VC planned an uprising. That was one of the reasons Dylan Roof chose that church, because of the significance of it. It was a place where rebel Black people would get together and plot and plan and try to rise up. So he chose that church for that reason. So they choose these places for symbolic reasons. You understand? That was a target. So that suggests some kind of symbolic intention. It wasn't just indiscriminate violence. And again, looking at the social media ties of the guy's family, I posted some of their post in my Twitter timeline because the family had their stuff taken down. But it had some stuff about, oh, pray for Charlie Kirk, oh, bless Charlie Kirk. They were really um, Bozak riding Charlie Kirk. So there's something there. And also the martyr narrative. See, in these extremist and conspiracy circles, when a prominent figure is killed, there's always a search for a culprit or a scapegoat. So they're looking for somebody to attack. Yeah. And the attacker didn't just shoot, he rammed his vehicle in the building, then set fire to the building, shot it up. So that level of theatrical destruction, that wasn't just random violence. That was designed to send a message. That was this dude's way of crashing all the way out. He's going to go out with a bang. He's going to martyr himself for the cause. Yeah. So these white supremacist males are really, really crashing out here. And you got to understand how these white supremacists think. They're conditioned to externalize blame. When something happens, they got to project the blame outward, even though it was their fellow white supremacist male, who many people are saying this guy was part of that whole Nick Fuentes groper stuff. So it's one of their own, but they're not going to admit that. They gotta find some kind of external enemy to project onto. You understand? So be it a religious thing, or Mormons, Jews, liberals, Antifa, they have to blame somebody other than their fellow white supremacist. Because see, admitting that it's one of their own, that disrupts the whole myth of moral and racial superiority. So they got to pivot to somebody else to blame. They tried to blame us, and that's so damn flimsy and stupid looking. But you understand the need for retaliation, that's a form of psychological control. See, in white supremacist ideology, retaliation is not just revenge, it's a ritual to kind of reestablish dominance. When a prominent figure like Charlie Kirk is killed or harmed, these extremists, they feel like their hierarchy is under attack. So retaliating, especially with violence, that's their way of basically emotionally getting their lick back and sending a message that they're still in control. And they have the white supremacists, man, they got a history of targeting innocent groups as stand-ins. See, historically, white supremacist violence, it's always been retaliatory and misdirected. Like whole black communities were burned down and destroyed after some individual crime. They have a whole history of doing that stuff. If they perceive that that group, like the Mormons, had some kind of symbolic or imagined ties to Charlie Kirk's downfall, then that group becomes the next target. And the white supremacists, they're real obsessed with loyalty and people breaking their code. See, white supremacists, they treat ideological loyalty as sacred. So if somebody on their side betrays the cause, or if they're perceived to have betrayed the cause, uh, they won't face introspection or accountability. Instead, the group turns outward and they attack others as a form of distraction and psychological compensation. So anybody seen celebrating or not mourning Kirk, that becomes fair game in their eyes. And these white supremacists, they see themselves as basically soldiers in a culture war. See, Charlie Kirk's followers, man, these people view themselves as foot soldiers in a racial and political holy war. So when their general gets struck down, they're trying to adopt this militant mindset. And that leads to them basically identifying enemies and stockpiling weapons and mentally protecting themselves and preparing for confrontation. Even if no evidence suggests that there's a link between a perceived enemy and the original incident. It's their own. They're doing shit to themselves. Yeah. So it's very interesting how these white supremacists think. The mindset is real funny style. And I want to get deep about this. The problem is, family, with the white supremacists, man, they have the illusion of racial superiority, but there's been no consequences. When you let people do shit and you don't give them consequences, they implode on themselves, just like a kid. If you don't discipline a kid, you let a kid run amok. You tell a kid you can do no wrong. You can go around and run and just be as degenerate as possible, and you're not going to be accountable. Nothing is going to happen to you. That kid becomes a damn degenerate. The kid becomes the damn degenerate. The kid starts talking back. The kid has no boundaries. They start harming animals. They just start doing shit. And they just keep pushing the boundaries of how much stuff they can do and get away with. You understand? There's nothing morally there to stop them. So they just go all over the place. That creates a degenerate mindset. You see? And that breaks down their civilization from within. See, the myth of racial immunity, that's backfiring on the white supremacists. See, for generations, the white society was fed the idea that whiteness alone granted you status, safety, and supremacy. But the thing is, you ain't getting all the benefits. You got a lot of white people out here broke. They're addicted. They're disenfranchised because you start doing degenerate stuff. You're like, hey, I can smoke all this dope, meth, fentanyl. Who's gonna stop me? I ain't gonna get in trouble. Hell, police can catch me with a meth pipe. They'll let me go. So I can smoke all the meth I want. Look how great and white I am. Now you addicted and strung out in a trailer park. You see, while the real elitist white people are up there counting their dollars while using your dumb ass as a foot soldier. I need the white people in here. Let me talk to you. Because see, y'all let the elite white people finesse your ass. Y'all let them finesse the shit out of you. You got them telling you, well, you guys are one of us. The real problem is the blacks. So we need you to go out here and stomp down on these blacks and really attack them online all day and blame them for everything. And we got your back. So we're going to go over here and count this money and we'll holler at you in a minute. So the elite whites ain't kicking you down with nothing. They're just telling you your whiteness is valuable. And we'll let you be degenerate. If you want to go kill a few people, we'll protect you. We'll let you do that. Well, you ain't gonna get this money though, but you're white. You know, you're not gonna be treated like the blacks. So that's a good deal. So the thing is, the promise of racial immunity from consequences, it turns hollow when poor white people start realizing that they're disposable too. You see, because when you have no moral compass, there's no stability. When a group is conditioned to believe that they can do anything without punishment, exploit, colonize, lie, kill, it breeds a society without ethics. And that type of society eventually turns inward. That's what we're seeing now. These people are shooting each other, destroying their own churches and preschools, and they just doing all types of degenerate shit to each other. Without a moral compass, decadence becomes normalized. And then that decay sets in spiritually and structurally. Yeah, this is why they're acting a damn fool out here. See, white degeneracy, it's hidden behind a veil of power. See, white drug abuse, sex trafficking, domestic terrorism, mass shootings are rampant, but it's not pathologized. They're not pathologizing it the same way as dysfunction in black societies. If a black person jaywalks, oh God, that's the fatherlessness in the black community. It becomes we're all responsible for some damn reason. Yeah. But see, beneath the surface, white America is kind of crumbling under untreated generational trauma, addiction, hopelessness. And then when power protects dysfunction, dysfunction grows unchecked. And then it consumes the society that hides it. See, that's what's going on now. There's a big old cancer, which is white supremacy, that has grown. And cancer, you can't control where cancer goes. When cancer starts growing, you think you can just throw the cancer on black people. Now the cancer's consuming you. Yeah, the cancer's consuming you. And there's a lot of poor white people who feel betrayed by the white dream. A lot of these people were told that being white made them better than everybody else. And now they watch the elite white people profit globally. You got the big time white elitists who say we're one of you, and oh, I'm gonna throw up the Nazi salute when I get on stage. What's up, Elon? Trump and those guys tell you, oh, we're the same. Oh, we're gonna make America great. We're so great. And then you rank and file white people, you got to go back to your opioid ravaged towns, and Trump is back up there in Mar-a-Lago having mimosas with Elon Musk. So deep down, you know there was a finesse there. Deep down, you know. Yeah. And that racial hierarchy, it promised you some prestige, but it delivered poverty. So a lot of people are starting to lash out in confusion and hatred. You know, there's only so much of that Negro hating they can promote. They'll let you do your little Negro hating, but you realize, hey, we don't have you living in that trailer park. It ain't us that got you in that trailer. Holla at them white elitists who got you in there eating a jelly sandwich and then took your job and sent it overseas. Yeah. See, being the establishment while still suffering, that creates cognitive dissonance. See, a lot of white people are taught that you are the establishment. But when you don't experience the wealth, status, or ease associated with that power, you feel cheated. And then that anger, it turns on your own community. Yeah, because you can't get to the elite white people. See, you can't get to them. That's why they let you target black people. And you get to go at other people within your community. You got to go after soft targets. See, that rage is misdirected, you know? But you're not going to have it go to the top of the pyramid. Now, one dude, that Luigi dude, he did go at one of the top cats. He waited outside that hotel and got that insurance cat and popped him. That's why they were cheering him. That's why he's being treated as a hero in white supremacist society to a certain degree. He went after a top cat. And I'm not saying that's cool. I'm just talking from a social political standpoint to let people understand how socio psychological politics work. But see, the collapse of white morality, it signals the decline of empire. See, historically, once the dominant group in an empire starts rotting from within due to arrogance, decadence, internal decay, collapse is imminent. And I think they know this. So the moral authority of whiteness is fading. And then with it, the illusion that this system can sustain itself. See, when you sell the soul of a nation for unchecked power and impunity, eventually the structure falls. And again, white supremacist society, it's rotten from within. Yeah. Because see, they delivered nothing to the white rank and file white people. They've not delivered anything. Because white supremacy is a royal lie for the masses. See, white supremacy is it's like a caste monarchy, where all the white people are told that they're above all the non-whites, even if you're broke and powerless. So that illusion binds them to a system that don't actually serve them. Yeah. And skin color becomes its currency, but it's a false currency. They'll give you currency. They'll let you get away with degeneracy, just like with Kyle Rittenhouse. I always say, white people got $1 billion worth of whiteness. They'll let you get away with some shit. You know, it's like insurance. We're not going to give you no money, but we'll give you a good defense. We'll give you $1 billion defense. So we're not going to let you, get punished. There's a glass floor. We're not going to let you go beyond this part of the glass floor. Like the black people, we're going to put them under the glass floor. But you white people, you're not going to be on the top, but you ain't going to be on the very bottom. We'll make sure you don't fall to the very, very bottom. And some of you guys are cool with that. So they use your color as currency. Whiteness is sold as a form of social wealth. But see, a lot of poor whites, they learn that their skin colors, it don't really pay the bills. Yeah, you can go out there and ambush a black person here and there and hopefully get a GoFundMe if your lie is good enough. But yeah, you can't really pay your bills like you need to. You can't buy homes. You can't provide safety nets. So that contradiction that creates a psychological instability and resentment. Yeah, you're told you're the establishment, but you ain't got no power. The poor whites, you see yourself as part of the dominant society with your little MAGA hat on, but yeah, you can't get up there to Mar-a-Lago. And we see some other white people are trying to, they didn't try to get at Trump. They done tried to bust on Trump because they realized how powerless they are. Yeah, they tell you you're part of the dominant structure, but you're a foot soldier. But at the end of the day, you don't get to control anything. You don't get to control the banks, the media, the economy. That's why they always whine about the Jews. When they say, "Oh, the damn Jews," that's what they mean. Well, the people who's running the money are the Jews. Then they want us to join in on that argument. No, that's a you problem. It's like a couple of people who hit up a bank and then they go to the bank and complain that one of them ran off with all the money. No. See, the thing, degeneracy becomes the default outlet. See, with no accountability, no purpose, no resources, these poor whites, they start spiraling into addiction, violence, and extremism and self destruction because the only thing the system gave them was permission to implode. It just lets you be as degenerate as possible without consequences. It's not really a good deal. Yeah. So that breeds a lot of contempt for others and themselves. And then that rage, it starts turning inward. And they hate that the system failed them, but they can't escape it. They hate non-white people who they were told they were above, but now you see black people doing better than them. So they have to sit up here and they get into this black trauma porn. They sit up and watch hood videos all day to make themselves feel better, watching World Star and fight videos in the hood, and try to tell themselves, well, I'm doing better than that. You got to soothe yourself with black trauma porn. And then when you see how black people are really living, most of it, we ain't living all gutter like that. And some of us are very well to do and doing pretty good. When that really triggers them, that really makes them want to jump off a cliff. So that mindset is very, very interesting. How degeneracy is normalized and how it's imploding on itself.
Hey y'all, I'm having a good time on the beach right now, and you know I had to get my root work on. So you need to get your root work on too at rootworkstyle.com.
Slide on that root work. Slide on that root work. Slide on that root work. Slide on that